And I'm going to say the answer to that is a resounding yes. I mean, you already see it with like how big tech has went, where you're seeing more and more of these big tech companies making everything open source. And I really do think that open source is kind of going to be the future. One, because like it just increases collaboration, reduces time that it takes to develop certain things. A great example of this from like the industrial automation world is the ignition exchange from inductive automation, where like you can go and upload a resource and anybody can go and download it. Like Vertech, we were in the build-a-thon for inductive automation 2 years ago. And we
Mhm.
built this dashboard application that's now available for anybody to go use up on that space. And then you're seeing an increase of like people using forums to be able to like talk to each other and share code. We're not quite at the point yet of like, going and fully deploying, like, I have my whole MES application. Let me just throw it up on GitHub so anybody can see. Like, we're not there yet to that level of collaboration. But I think kind of going forward, just the way that the rest of the tech sphere has kind of went with this whole open source kind of ideology, I do think that that's kind of where the industry is headed. Just because like it saves so much time in the long run and everyone really benefits from it. Especially with some of this software stuff where like it is mostly like the same types of things between different manufacturers. We always say here at like Vertech, like industrial automation is like 30 years behind the rest of software as far as like procedures and like how things are done. Like there's literally no such thing as source control in most of what we do. Like nobody's using GitHub. Nobody's using any type of like storage repo to do any of this stuff. Whereas like traditional software has been doing that for 20, 30 years now. So I think kind of in that same line of thinking, like you said, I think it'll eventually happen. But like it's going to take a while for those like mindsets to shift before people really realize that this is like a huge benefit to their company in the long term. I think the overall, like the platforms of which are developed and like broad, like here's like an interface. I think that type of software is going to become open source. But when it comes to some of the like really more niche stuff, I definitely think there are industries that it's not going to ever become like, I think, especially when you get to a lot of the like highly regulated industries, like, your power utilities companies, like there's just like legal and like security reasons why you wouldn't want that to be open source. But like from a platform standpoint and like from an overall like module integration standpoint of some of this stuff, I do think that that will all go open source.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that's even something that like we as system integrators deal with ourselves. Like when we're designing these MES systems, like, I mean, you might have like a task to design some portion of it. And like without even thinking, you just like start to go down the path of like, all right, this is what I need to do. Here I'm going to go. And like sometimes you don't even think about like, oh, I should have like asked to see if anybody's ever like designed this before. Because like, 30, 40% of the time, like somebody's probably already done something that's like 70% comparable that could save you a lot of time. So being able to like have some sort of like repository like that you can dig into, even like internally, it would be hugely beneficial. But it's a lot of getting the mindset of like all of your engineers on board with that same kind of reusability, kind of like turning things into like not a black box, but kind of packaged up in a way where it can be reused for like multiple different uses.